And when your customer feels left out in this way, when they don't feel the love, they ask the question, why should I care? This may be a blow to your organizational ego. We like to think that our customers care about our products and services as much as we do. But they really don't. And they won't care just because we tell them they should. Again, part of our job as information architects and designers is selling customers on the idea that they need to read the messages we give them. We need to give them a reason to care. Otherwise, they'll say, I'm not interested. Or even, sorry, were you talking to me? And what happens when the audience doesn't care? Well, when that happens, the customers aren't receptive to information that might really be useful to them. Your organization's reputation could take a hit. And today with social media, Twitter, Facebook, that hit could become magnified if people start talking about it on the net. Keep in mind, by the way, that a negative comment from a customer isn't a bad thing. But 1 million of them probably is. And when you fail to reach your customers, you lose out on potential revenue down the road. Instead, you want to build trust in your customers. You want to make them feel like partners. You can use your documentation and your training materials to help win and retain the trust of your customers and to make them feel like you're a partner with them. The key is to make them see that your interests are the same as their interests. And the first step to doing that is knowing who your customers are. Every technical writer knows one basic foundational truth: write for your audience. So who is the audience? Not enough just to know demographics. Try to know your audience as people. People who are using your product to do something, to get a job done. In the past, you've probably made assumptions about who your audience is. And maybe they were good assumptions. Maybe you even created personas so that you could see them more as real people. A persona is like an avatar who represents a typical user. We make up a person as a surrogate for our users. We represent them as if they were a real person. We give them a name, their age, their situation, and so forth. This is a good way of doing audience analysis, but it's only a start. How can you test that your assumptions are correct? How can you verify them? And even when you've done that, is that enough? Don't you need to know what your audience is doing when they turn to your information? The next slide has a picture of an audience and what they're doing. The man fixing a car. What is your audience doing when they turn to your information? What are their circumstances? What formats are they displaying your information in? What are they feeling? Are they anxious? Are they under stress? Are they antagonistic for some reason? Try and understand that. We always imagine that our customers, our audience, are doing some kind of task. But what are the circumstances? Is their desk cluttered with other things? Or like this gentleman, do they even have a desk? Are they displaying your information on a smartphone? And if so, what do the graphics look like? Does their output device even support Flash or another format that you might be relying on? One of the participants in today's webinar sent us an example of a system that printed out instructions for auto mechanics. The information could be customized based on the car's make, model, and year, and on the specific part of the car that was being worked on. So if the mechanic needed information for a 2009 Mustang, not a 2007 or 2008, not a Focus or a Taurus, the mechanic could print out that specific information. So the mechanic had a piece of paper with information that was accurate, that was relevant to the make and model. It was more accessible than, say, a large shop manual, and certainly more accessible in the garage than a display terminal or something like that. So this sounds like a pretty good piece of audience analysis. I think we've moved the ball down the field and we're just about ready to score a touchdown. But there was one missing piece. This documentation contained electrical diagrams. And electrical diagrams aren't too useful unless they're in color. But these were being printed in black and white. Fortunately, the company in question continued their audience analysis, and I guess they did a usability test, and they realized that the information needed to be in color, so they made sure the customers had color printers. First and goal, and they scored the touchdown. Nearly fumbled the ball at the end there, but they made it over. And the audience was able to use the material. Good job of audience analysis. And it took into account all of those things. What are they trying to do? What information is relevant, and what information can we omit because it's not relevant? What's the work environment like? What's the customer's need? What do they expect? So we've talked about how your customers don't read your information. How they're only looking for information that's relevant and formatted for them. In a moment now, we're going to turn to solutions. Find out who's using your information and give them content that meets their needs. And let them participate in the content-making process. When you find out who your audience is, but only when you do that, then you can show them that your content is valuable to them and that it can help them succeed. When the customers understand that your information is valuable to them, that's when you build up trust. Your information actually becomes an asset, a thing of value. And that, by the way, might be a good way to justify any cost involved of updating your information. And now I'm going to give the presentation over to Julio, who will talk about these solutions in more detail.